It took me until the age of 27 to learn the name of what I have been doing every single time I have been paid since I started working at the ripe age of 14. Pay yourself first. How the hell did I not know that's what it's called? Like, come on, man. What are you doing? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Reese, and in today's video, I am talking about the golden rule of finance being you should always pay yourself first. A scary piece of information that I see pop up often in articles, in forums, in conversations with people is that most people do not have enough money saved or invested for retirement or unexpected emergencies. And I personally believe this is because people in general do not have the foresight to plan ahead for unexpected occurrences that very well may happen to them. I am currently watching a large number of people that are about my parents' age who are rapidly approaching retirement with next to nothing in savings, superannuation, and some of them even have really large mortgages, which is concerning. If I was in their situation, I would definitely be feeling a little bit uneasy, maybe even a little bit of pressure, because I myself, at the ripe age of 27, can calculate the rough costs of living on a budget. And after doing that calculation, knowing that that money they have set aside for retirement won't last them more than 5 years after they stop working makes me question how the hell they are going to survive, even live comfortably for the rest of their life as they approach their death. I'm gonna park that right there and circle back to it later. I wanna quickly touch on the other statement I made where most people do not have enough money saved for an unexpected emergency. This is definitely something that should be talked about more in my opinion. It's not until an emergency occurs that you need to start worrying. So when this conversation comes up, I often find people treat it as that would never happen to me. I'm doing it in quotations because that's how they treat it, when in reality, it definitely still could. That's not a good get out of jail free card. That's kind of a cop out. The reason why it's frightening is that knowing that one significant unexpected expense could really throw away years of hard work, years of saving, and years of progress, it's not an exciting thing to think about. It is quite worrying, and I think it should be talked about more. Now, I'm going to talk about both of these a little bit more as I make my way through the video, but now let's get into the more specifics of what the golden rule of personal finance is and why I'm making this video and why I'm talking about it. I'll circle back to the fear mongering that I've just put into your friggin' eyeballs in a moment. The whole idea behind paying yourself first is to set aside a portion of money every single time you are paid for future-proofing purposes, and to do this before putting money towards things like your fixed expenses and your leisure spending. I like to think of it similar to how we pay tax here in Australia, where we have something called PAYG. If you work a 9 to 5, you pay as you go, which means before that money hits my bank account, the hard-earned dollars that I've had to work hard for, the government takes a portion away and I never get to see it. It doesn't even come into my bank account. In this instance, you would be paid from your employer and take a portion out and allocate it towards something, towards paying yourself first, which I'll go through some examples of what this might look like in a minute. But that's the concept, is that you just kind of don't ever think about seeing this money. Once it hits your account, it goes to the purpose and you never see it again. Now, there are lots of different approaches you can take towards paying yourself first. A few good examples would be to build an emergency fund. That is definitely one almost at the top of my list if you do not have one. Other good examples would be to make extra contributions to your superannuation, similar to what you would do with a 401k for my American viewers. And then finally, the most straightforward ones would be to invest directly into asset classes like cryptocurrency and potentially the share market. I'm not going to tell you which one the right one is to do. I'll leave that up to you to decide, because ultimately I can't tell you how much money you have left over at the end of every single pay or before you have to go and pay for bills and things like that. But just understand the concept here is that there are options and there's no right or wrong. It's just you have to figure out what's best for you. I personally built an emergency fund. I'm happy with where my emergency fund is now. So I've moved on to investing into the share market and cryptocurrency every single year. And I've talked about it in other videos on my channel. Now would definitely be a good time to hit that like and subscribe button as well. Cheeky little plug. It definitely helps the channel grow and I really do appreciate the support. If you were interested in learning more about those topics, you can find those videos on my channel pretty easily. I have a couple of playlists set up which explain and go into detail about those topics more. Now, the other way you can pay yourself first is similar to the future-proofing method. The example I'm going to use is to allocate a portion of your wage every time you are paid towards your bills account, for example, or potentially a big purchase. How I personally break up my salary kind of accommodates this. And the reason why I do this is to make sure that any new expenses are already accounted for, so my way of life doesn't really need to change. So what I do with my bills account is I put about 25% of my salary into that every single time I'm paid. I build that to a buffer of $3,000, and then every dollar over that, I invest it into the share market or cryptocurrency, depending on what I'm wanting to invest in at the time. This guarantees that I'm allocating money for a good intended purpose, and hopefully it will pay off in the long run, where I'm definitely still allocating some money to enjoy, but I'm not spending all of my money. And it might seem trivial, it might seem stupid. If you are someone who spends all of the money you earn, you should think about setting up a system that works for you, that allows you to put money into these things that will benefit you in the long term. The benefits from doing this are seriously something to understand. It definitely reduces stress. I don't really worry about having to spend money on bills. I'm prepared for it, and it's something I don't really need to think about whatsoever. It definitely has helped me with impulse purchasing because I allocate money for big purchases such as a new computer, a car, whatever it may be. And it teaches me discipline because I don't just go out and buy that thing now. I have to learn to save for it with a portion of my wage every time I'm paid. And over time, that money builds up to a point that if I need something new or I want something new, I have a pool of money I can allocate to go and buy whatever it is that I want to buy. Number 3 is that, again, that discipline carries on forever. One day when I retire, I'm going to have everything I've put into place now ingrained into my brain, and now it's second nature. It's simple to budget on what I have access to live out my days comfortably. Hopefully, touch wood. It seriously is a benefit worth understanding. And that's really the key to pulling this off. You have to learn how to discipline yourself, and you have to be incredibly consistent once you start. Map out a plan, figure out how much expendable income you could allocate towards doing some of these things, and then start doing them. It's simple in terms of the idea, but then you also need to get this set up in the right space. And that's where I can't really help the people watching this video. You need to figure out how much you could allocate towards these causes and which ones you want to allocate them to. I just really do highly suggest, for example, building an emergency fund. There are massive benefits from doing it. If you are in the fortunate position to have expendable income, which you can allocate towards paying yourself first, there is only one real consideration to this rule, and that is that if you have large amounts of liabilities, such as a mortgage or potentially credit card debt, it's definitely something worth considering paying off first before doing this in large amounts. I would still do it in small amounts, but definitely interest is a bitch. It will chew through your savings. It will chew through all of your progress forever. Take it from someone who has a lot of debt. It is something that is going to be a long grind to not have debt, period. Only consideration, needed to put it in there as a disclaimer. Overall, this golden rule has served me well for the past 13 years of my working career. It's something that I will carry forward with me into the future. And I think that there are a lot of benefits from setting it up yourself and getting into this really good, healthy habit with money. And that's just about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was insightful. I hope you learned something. If you did, like I said, halfway through this video, if you could like and subscribe this video, that would be much appreciated. And I'm pretty much going to leave you there. Have a good day, have a good week, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.